Now, the highway to success with information is to have constant messages. Messages that are absolutely in concert with each other, that are not in disagreement. We're always going to find some little bit of thing to disagree with. That's natural. That's human nature. We're not going to agree even with a constant message, so we're going to have, as it says on this first line to the right and to the left, weak resistance, no matter what anybody tells you. Somebody give you the 10 Commandments. Somebody give you the Sermon on the Mount. You're still going to have some weak resistance to something that's said. Believe it. But when you only have weak resistance, and when the messages are consistent, you will only have a minimum amount of distortion for your inner mind to work out and function. Now, games are defined as a series of ongoing transactions. This is based on the best-selling book by Dr. Byrne. His definition, a series of ongoing transactions, meaning talking back and forth or behaving interpersonally with someone, which have concealed motivation. Now, how often do you engage in conversation without some concealed motivation? Acknowledge it. That leads progressively to a well-defined payoff. We always seem to want a payoff when we have a discussion. We have to have the last word, get the upper hand. Now, it's an analysis of ulterior transactions. In other words, transactions that come from some inner reason, and they always lead to a payoff. There are several other definitions, several other interpretations on this page. Now, let's not worry about the games people play in life games. I'm not here to try to do any therapy on life problems, even though sometimes when you get enough therapy and benefit from therapy and handicapping, it does alter lives. We've had many people say that handicapping was just the top of the iceberg, that in learning how to be a game-free handicapper, they became game-free in life. That's good. Let's talk about the most insidious, the number one horse player game, and it goes like this. Who do you like? Now, who do you like may not just be the overt, walking up to someone and saying, who do you like? Or who do you like? Or whatever. It can be hidden ulteriorly in things like constant asking of questions. What do you think of this horse? Or what do you think of that post position? Or what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? Or how would you handle this situation? Every time a person runs up a situation of which they feel insecure about, because they have no confidence, because they haven't had a set of corollaries they've used, and for various other reasons, they say, well, how would you do this? Okay, here's the way that transaction goes. Call it who do you like, call it any variation of who do you like. It's a second degree hard form of why don't you, yes, but. In other words, helpless. You're playing helpless. Do me something. Do me something is in all three forms that are on this page. Now here's how it happens. Let's say that you say, who do you like? And the rescuer, that's the rescuer, playing a drama triangle. Now the three positions on that drama triangle as developed by Steve Karpman. The rescuer, the guy who comes to your aid. The guy who asks the questions. Now rescuers has doctors and psychiatrists, psychologists, policemen, firemen, etc. That's a natural position. That's what they're hired to do. But the human rescuer that stands out there and you say, who do you like? Here's what happens. He offers you a selection. It wins. Or in many cases, you offer a selection, the person says, I wouldn't bet that horse with your money. But let's assume number 2 down here, it wins. Now the victim keeps coming back until that rescuer does lose. Now the victim turns into a persecutor, turns the rescuer into a victim, and then the rescuer then becomes a persecutor, and he says, gee, what are you getting mad at me for? Look at all the good horses I gave you. And the game goes on, and it's a terrible game. Losing gambler game number 2, and boy, does this happen to me a lot. I just don't understand. Words like, what do you mean early pay? Sustain, what's sustained mean? What is factor X? What do you mean by entropy? I never heard anybody use entropy. What are fractals? What is this? What is that? I don't understand. True translation, I won't understand. Can't means won't. Don't means won't. The reason people won't understand is it because it constitutes a lexicon, a terminology that they haven't heard before, they don't use in everyday life. That's a game. You contradict all I know. You don't agree with what other teachers have taught me. You don't use the same language. Therefore, I don't understand. Hey, look, when you were a kid, your daddy or mommy took you down to the ocean and they said, look, son, that's an ocean. From that day forward, you knew what an ocean was. You saw the waves breaking on the sand and everything. You did not ask what the salt content was, how many fish are in it, how big is it, what's this, that. That was an ocean. Subsequently, you got taken to see a lake, and pretty soon you knew what a lake was. The victim is always the person who says, but I don't understand. Then when you try to explain it, every word of explanation used creates a new I don't understand, because that person has put themselves permanently in the position of victim. I don't understand. It's too complex for me. Hundreds of variations of that same game. Get off that game. It doesn't matter whether you know the exact meaning of a word. Understand what that word means in context with how you're being asked to use it in order to win. Now we get to the confidence part. And this really hurts me. See, confidence comes from having done it, from having been successful, from knowing you're going to be successful because you have a set of values, a set of vital, viable variables you know win consistently. This letter that I received from a well-known, very well-known, famous book-writing, handicapping expert reflects what I say is the essence of no confidence. I'm not going to give you his name. I don't believe in doing exposés of people, even though this person did. He says, thanks for sending me the note and your favorable comments. In the interest of honesty, however, I must confess that in 1996, this was written in April 26, 1997, 1996, I was minus 2% on my action for the year, a small loss, but a loss nonetheless. Thus far, I'm 4.7 lifetime ahead. But listen to this. This is a pitiful phrase, and I hope you never are in a position to make it. You never know when a permanent downturn could occur. That coming from a well-known book-writing, lecturing expert, that's totally lack of confidence. You know what it is? It's ego. When you depend solely on your ego and you have a downturn, that's subjective visual perception handicapping gone awry. You'll never have to be able to say, you never know when a permanent downturn could occur, if you're using a computer with a viable program in it. Somebody then, after this person wrote several exposés denouncing virtually everything, he wrote him an internet. It's right here. What works? He said, I wrote, and I left his name out, asking why he didn't feature handicapping methods that work rather than those that don't, and his answer was, because there aren't any. Good God, are we faced with a group of experts who make their living selling newsletters and methods and stuff, who themselves say there aren't any? Folks, that is the lowest form of lack of confidence, of lack of direction that I've ever heard of. Competence. Competence comes from focus and determination, from believing in what you're doing, from believing in yourself, and from being game-free. Stop playing the game of poor little me, or I don't understand. Stop playing those games, or who do you like, or what would you think I ought to do, that kind of a game. Straightforward, overt, interpersonal communications between individuals functioning in a free child ego state. Hey, the little professor, exchanging of good ideas, exchanging positivity. And you're guided by adult, your ability to logic and reason. Cathected. Cathected, all that means is connected. Can you connect yourself instantly with any ego state you want? Can you, when you're whining and groaning and suddenly say, hey, wait a minute, that's wrong. Bang, connect yourself now to an adult state or to a free, happy child state. Or when necessary, when things are going wrong and you have to be a bit parental, can you immediately cathect yourself to a parental state? Say, no, that's not right, don't do that. Free cathexis is absolutely necessary. Next subject, scripts. Does anybody out there deny that we are scripted individuals, that we didn't just spontaneously start doing the things we do? Somewhere along the line we were scripted. Here's how it's described by Byrne and his cohort Claude Steiner. A life plan based on a decision made in childhood, reinforced by parents or in loco parentis, authority figures, justified by subsequent events, and culminating in a chosen alternative. The script determines a person's ultimate outcome, a decision made by the child between his own autonomous needs and the expectations of his parents, expectations of someone, parents, society, you name it, and the injunctions, the no-nos, the directions, you must, you don't, all that stuff. You primarily get that originally from a family group. Now, there are two types of scripts, according to the experts. Neither one of them sound very attractive to me. The banal script, an everyday melodramatic script with no clear beginning or end. You want that one? A hamartic script, from the Greek, a script with a self-destructive tragic ending. This is the kind of scripts that most gamblers, all losing gamblers, alcoholics, narcotics addicts, anybody who's addicted to something that's self-destructive has what we call a hamartic script, and you end up, as the song games that people play went, you end up in the back of a black limousine. Loser scripts are very easy to determine. For instance, when you were a child, or when you look at other children, do you hear this? I'm trying, but I just can't seem to. And the parent or the authority figure says, oh, hell, here, stupid, I'll do it myself. What a disastrous thing to happen to a child, and it's happened so often, and it warps the rest of that child's life. I can't, I don't know how, show me. Never mind, I'll do it myself. Okay. Okay, now let's get and find what are winners, what are non-winners, and what are just plain losers. Okay, a winner has stopped playing loser games. You can think of 101 loser games. You're playing them all the time unless you're winning consistently. And if you're winning consistently, you're probably not watching this tape. You've rewritten your loser script to conform to an autonomous way of life that follows your own guidelines that you have accepted and does it consistently. Now, a non-winner, and that's what we hope we're talking to most, not losers, but non-winners. People are on the road. They've not completely ceased playing games, loser games, but they do acknowledge them for what they are and carefully monitor themselves toward recovery and think of things in an adult state and stop looking at everything from a subjective, ego-centered point of view. Now, here's an example. A winner makes commitments. A loser